Welcome, everyone, to an amazing Thursday. Hopefully, everybody is weathering the storm. We had a big storm system coming through North America, and well, we made it. We live another day. So we have today. Speaking of nature, we have our mentor expert Dortha Hise with us today to speak about the incredible healing power of nature. So I am really looking forward to these. Let's get to it.
Empowering women on a global scale. Welcome to Powerful Women Today with Carolina Billings. Powerful Women Today is on a mission of inclusion, rewriting his story to include her story, and empowering, raising, and amplifying women's voices with professional speaking, publishing, original podcasting, and web TV. And now here's your host, the founder of Powerful Women Today, Carolina Billings.
Welcome, everyone. We have Dortha Hise with us today. Dortha is the founder of Choose Your Own Adventure program with her Summit to Success branch of her company, because she's got such a unique approach. I love it. And it's all about the healing power of nature. So welcome, Dortha.
Thank you so much for having me, Carolina.
Thank you. Thank you. So there were a couple of things that really popped to mind when I was doing a little bit of the research on the topic. One is that we're in desperate need of healing. Like, trust me, the last 3 years have, bruised us in ways that we are just beginning to understand. And everybody's feeling pressure, whether it's physical, mental, economics, the works, right? It's like it's coming at us in every direction. And one of the quickest ways, like we all want a quick answer, right? Which is part of the reason why we have a tendency to turn to pharma, right? Because it's instant, right? I have a headache, pop a pill, hopefully it'll go away immediately, right? But there's something else that also cures you on the spot. And so let's talk about nature. And how did you first discover or made the connection that to embrace nature as a healing modality?
Well, I mean, I think as early as I can remember, we would visit, my grandmother who lived in the country, kind of outskirts of a bigger metropolitan area, and she had wild horses in her field of the back part of that backed up to her house. And she would always find me out there, wandering down to see them, and I would talk to them and pet them and feed them. I would, sneak carrots and apples from her refrigerator and go feed them. And she was always worried I was going to get trampled. And I always was just like, ooh, they're so majestic and amazing. And I think, that was probably, I was less than 10. And I've always just sort of had that knowingness. And, I grew up near the ocean. So I kind of attribute being near water as one of those pulling forces as well. And then, as an adult, when, let's see, it was around 2012, I experienced a tremendous number of losses of people from my life, a number of deaths, starting with the unexpected loss of my mom. And, it just sort of compounded over that 2-year period. And one of the ways that I really found that I was able to come back to, center, if you will, and to really get mental clarity, calmness, peace in my heart was by way of a backpacking trip. It was a 44-mile adventure here in the Northern Sierras, and we haven't looked back since doing that trip. We've been doing weekend trips here and there since. So that's kind of
Wow. So you
the
are
art.
in California, right?
Yep.
A beautiful setting. But
Yeah.
that being said, in most of North America, even if you are, in the core of a city, right? Usually there is nature not too far from you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just getting outside to get fresh air. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't, you don't need to go on a hike of, the Sierra Madre in order to achieve this. And and that's the part that let's say someone like me, right? That,
Yeah.
nature and I are not friends. I've had, I tried to embrace the country, and it was a little bit of Green Acres. If anybody gets that reference, then you will know something like my perfume attracts bees and mosquitoes and, like bears chasing the scent. And listen, there were no bears, but you know what I mean. It's just like I don't do well in nature, right? And
Yeah.
there's other people that may not, that thinking of hike or thinking of, something, they just don't know where to start,
Mhm.
right? So
It's true. Mhm.
tell me you know, how do you know, like when you're feeling off, or you have a headache, or something aches and hurts, or stress, what can someone do, A, on the spot, or B,
Mhm.
how do you know? Like, is there a way to walk, to breathe, to, is
Yeah.
there a way to do it right? Basically, what I'm asking is there a way to do nature right?
I think any way that you do it is the right way. So, I feel like, and this is, I'm guilty of this myself before I started, was I thought this whole big thing in my head, right? Like, oh my gosh, I have to have this and I have to do that and it has to be perfect and I have to have this pack and I have my shoes and right. So you get overwhelmed. And if you just start with the just one thing and narrow it down from there, right? Your one thing will build on one thing, on one thing, on one thing, and then all of a sudden you have a big giant pack full of all your stuff. You have all the proper gear, and the fun thing about if you are doing longer trips, even if you're doing a day trip, you can try things out and see what works. You can play things
Mhm.
when you're out there. But yeah, like you said earlier, you can do something as simple as just go step out into your backyard. Or if you don't have a backyard, step out, your front door. And maybe there's some shrubbery. Like if you even live in an apartment complex, there's usually some kind of a little park, maybe. Or, you could go hug a tree. I'm a huge fan of tree hugging. That there's an energetic exchange that happens that will instantly lift your mood. Grounding, where you take your shoes off and actually rub your feet into the earth. Those are some really quick ways that you can kind of connect in. Also, don't underestimate the power of vitamin D that we get from the sun. So,
Mhm.
if it is in the winter, it's a little bit more challenging. I'm looking outside right now and we have a little bit of sunlight, so I'm kind of excited because that means I'm going to get outside and get some of that on my body, and we need that, right? And that's some of that mood lifting. It elevates our mental awareness and faculties, as well as just kind of allows us to take a moment. And you asked about breathing, and one of the techniques that I've learned, and I think it's called box breathing, but it's basically that you breathe in for 4 seconds, you hold it for 4 seconds, and then exhale for 4 seconds and hold it there for 4 seconds. So if you think of it like a box and you right, so it's that powerful, and what that does is you feel I just felt my shoulders relax, I felt my solar plexus completely relax, right? So, like, all that tension and it's only 9:08 in the morning here, so, like, where's all that tension coming from?
And you
But
know what? Breathing is huge. So
mhm.
there are, you and I have, well, you're an outdoors girl. I'm
Person.
not,
Yeah.
but we do share some of the same philosophies and some of
Mhm.
the same contemplative practices
Yep.
when it comes to breathing, when it comes to meditation, mindfulness.
Mhm.
And shocked to newsflash, I have a little bit of attention deficit, and most people that are high achievers, by the way, have attention
Mhm.
deficit, and that's why I think we're able to accomplish much, because we just like jump from thing to thing to thing. And um, so meditating is really difficult.
Mhm.
Like meditating is like seriously, like you
Yeah.
want me to do what, right? And so there are things like walking can be active meditation,
Mhm.
but that's walking, not looking at your phone,
Right.
right? So there is like,
Or having earbuds in.
yeah, like we don't want to judge it that there's a right way and a wrong way,
Yeah.
but if you're going to do something consciously,
Mhm.
right? Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about say a walk. Let's start with a walk. Maybe
Yeah.
that will be our challenge for this week, right?
Yeah.
So we decide that we need to clear our mind. Like, I've
Mhm.
heard so many people speak of mental fog.
Yep.
And I don't know if it's contagious, or I don't know, I don't know what's going on, but I know I've felt it a little, and in many people I speak to,
Mhm.
themselves bring it up, right? And
Yeah.
so say that I decide I'm going to do a 10-minute intentional walk.
Mhm.
What would that look like? Walk us through that.
Yeah, so I think it starts with, as you're getting dressed and changing to go out for your walk, it starts there, right? Because the thing I like to do, and you've heard me talk about this, Carolina, is set an intention.
Mhm,
So, okay, maybe there's something on my mind and I need some help kind of formulating a solution. So I'm going to set an intention. Maybe it's while I'm tying my shoes, maybe it's before I, get my jacket on, whatever it is before I head out the door, and I'm going to set a purposeful intention. So okay, um, I have this problem and I'm looking to find an easy solution to get it resolved. So
mhm.
that's my intention. And as I walk out the door and I lock the door, I like to make that kind of my impetus of like, okay, the thing is starting now. Even though I've been intentional in how I'm putting my shoes on and if I had to change my clothes, any of that, as I walk out the door and close it and lock it, there's that moment of, okay, this is now happening. I'm starting, I'm going to take some deep breaths and then sort of just come back to that intention, focus on it, and just let it be out there. And then, like any other little fleeting thoughts that come up, oh, what's for dinner tonight? Oh, the kids. Oh, this. Oh, that.
Like, see it
Acknowledge
outside,
them.
kind of,
Acknowledge
right?
them and let them go, exactly, and then
Mhm.
just keep focused on that intention and just really kind of focusing on your breathing. And now, mind you, if you haven't been out for a walk in a while, you may get out of breath pretty quickly. Be gentle with yourself as you're going through this, right? Slow down your pace a little bit maybe. Being intentional in your walk doesn't mean you have to be out there like the
Yeah, I was
people
just
at the
thinking it
mall.
took a long time to get this bat out of shape. So it may take the same amount of time to bring it back online, right?
Yes, yep, exactly. I mean, we've gotten to this place with the brain fog and the whatever else over time. It didn't happen overnight, and getting out of it isn't going to immediately happen. However, I think you'll start to notice immediate changes. Partly from being outside, there's just the being in the fresh air, the sunlight. If you have that, that's also a factor. And then again, focusing on that intention, and then, you'll when you get back, you'll be amazed. I like to grab my journal after times like that and start jotting down things that come to me because then I'm like flooded and inundated with things. And it's not about what's for dinner or anything like that. It's
And if that's
actually,
what it is, then write it
yeah,
down, right?
yeah,
Get it out of your
exactly.
head. That's
Yep,
one of the powers of journaling, by the way,
it is.
is that when you get it out of your head, because I think in the back of your mind, you keep holding on to all the things you need to do,
Yep.
right? In all the things you need to do, and think of like a cache of your phone or your computer, right? Like if you
Mhm.
never close anything that you've opened, eventually everything begins to slow down, right? So if that's what comes to mind, write it down.
Yeah.
Just get it out, acknowledge it, right?
Yep.
And then go back to focusing.
And I keep, I this is my journal for coaching, but I have a notebook near my desk or wherever I'm going to be at almost all times because I want it to be within arm's reach so that if
Mhm.
something does come to me, I'm able to jot it down so that it's not that laying in bed in the middle of the night, waking up going, oh crap, what was that thing I was thinking of? And that's also that end of the day peace of mind kind of thing. It's going to help you because you write it down. You don't have to worry.
Mhm. And one of the techniques, and like I said, you and I collaborate a lot when it comes to it. And what I love about it is that we're so different, right?
Hmm.
In not all of it, because actually we have a lot of commonality, but our lifestyles are very different, and
Yeah.
our physicality is very different, right? And one of the techniques, so there's a couple of techniques that I want to share from the urban side of things,
Yeah.
um, are that if you are just getting started and you're having a little bit of difficulty, not even difficulty, just um I don't know, just getting started, right? Last year, I bought these walking poles. They're like Nordic walking poles,
Hmm.
and you know, A, they're kind of cool, and in B, they help you go a little bit faster, right? And it's not that, like you said, are starting at whatever,
Mhm.
but if you're starting and maybe, your joints hurt a little, or the fluidity is just not there, using walking poles helps a lot, right?
Gives you
And
the
maybe,
ability to.
yeah, and maybe the intention is do it at 10, be like you said, be gentle, right?
Mhm.
Do 10 minutes, do 5 minutes. Park. So the difference between the way we practice mindfulness is that Dortha actually goes out, and she has an amazing column in our magazine, that there's a feature column on every issue, which is choose your adventure. So
Mhm.
she's going to just, we're going to live vicariously through her on like real life adventures. But so I practice in the gutter mindfulness. So my mindfulness is not it's not a Lululemon backpacking kind of thing. Nothing against Lululemon, but you know what I mean. It's not yoga gear. It's like it in the moment, right?
Mhm.
Maybe the walk is really park far away from where you're going, and then make it your intention from where you park to the door to say thank you in every step.
Mhm.
Thank you. And keep thinking, thank you that I can walk. Thank you that I had a car to get here. Thank you that the car had gas, right? And it's surprising, just the shift, the instant shift, saying the word thank you and
Yeah.
breathe. Thank
Mhm.
you, breathe. Thank you and breathe. Same when you're waiting in line, right? Or in traffic, or
Yeah.
any opportunity that you have to just bring focus back to self,
Mhm.
right? And there's a technique, if you're in the city, is unlearning unlearning your neighborhood, right? I don't know if it's happened to you, but you know I'll drive up and down the same street a gazillion times, and all of a sudden I notice a house that I've never noticed before. It's like, who put that house there? Right? And I'm sure it's been there all along, but you're just like, so, multitasking, right? Like you're driving, you're thinking, you're, doing all these things that you're not even noticing your surroundings.
Mhm.
So to unlearn, like forget what you think you know about this street, or forget what you think you know about the drive to or from wherever you're going, and
Yeah.
try to notice new things, right?
Mhm.
So you have some exciting things
I
happening.
do.
Yes, you are launching your own empowerment circle
I
for
am.
choose your own adventure.
Yep.
Let's
And
talk a little bit about that.
yeah. Do you want me to start, or are you gonna
No,
ask me a
you
question?
go
You look
ahead.
like you're gonna
You
ask a
go
question.
ahead. Say what you wish is what inspired you to do these, and you know who 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 do you think would be a great match for it?
Yeah. So, I think I shared with you that I always look for adventure in every day, and you and I got into talking about it, and then it was like, oh, like what if we had an empowerment circle around this whole concept?
Mhm,
And I thought that was a really great idea, because I think one of the things that we get away from as we get into being adults and having to do the adulting, right, and paying our bills and doing all the things, is that we get away from our childlike selves and our the wonderment of all the things that were fun and exciting as kids. And some of that is what I bring into like finding an adventure every day. So I'm not saying I go out on a backpacking trip every single day. I wish, but I have to do other things.
mhm,
So sometimes it might just be going out in the backyard and laying in the grass and checking out the clouds. Something as simple as that, it just allows me a few minutes. I don't have to take a lot of time, but I'm able to just reconnect to that like joyfulness of my youth, and really kind of tap into that feeling in my body. And like you said, coming back to myself. So the further we talked about that, it tapped into mindfulness and meditation and kind of that whole practice around one of the things I love doing when we're on backpacking trips is to do my journaling. And that's because of all the amazing things that we see every day. I'm like, "Oh, I couldn't possibly remember this at the end of a trip to write everything down." So I
mhm,
do that when we're in camp every night, and it's super fun. And it's something I love doing. And so we talked about bringing in and I incorrectly say his name, but we'll be doing a focus around, it's Think Not. Thank
Yes.
you. Think Nag Han's different books, and I actually I don't have mine with me, but we're starting with how to connect. And really, it's going to kind of take these principles, break them down, talk about connection, not just with other people, also with ourselves, also with, if you have a higher power, if you believe in God, whatever it is, connection, starting with connection. And each month we'll have a different book that we focus on, and bringing in that, where can I get my adventure today? What can I do that would be fun? How can I get out? And actually, funny, before we started this call, I was working on our summer plans for where our adventures will be this summer.
Brilliant. And you know what I love about, and we'll put all the references in the comments, and what I love about the Thich Nhat Hanh books, and it's a series of mini books. They're like,
Mhm.
You can read them in like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, right, max. And what I love about it is that there is a series that does like, loving mindfulness and how to fight mindfully, how
Mhm.
to, connect, how to eat, how to rest, how to walk. And it's not that someone is saying, when so I did a postgraduate program at U of T about mindfulness. They're like the leading institution for it. And I remember every time I mentioned it, someone thought, so isn't that like counterintuitive to go to such a strict, setting to learn mindfulness, right? Like that's not how it works. But yes, it is kind of, right? It is a
Mhm.
skill.
Mhm.
And this is it's not that we're saying this is the right way to do it, but it's worth considering. If what you're doing is not working,
Yeah.
or you're trying to find that jolt, right?
Mhm.
Um, I think it's worth considering. So we invite you to join us in this adventure, and
Yes.
Dorothy is leading us, and we'll put more information. But I am so excited. So tell us, Dorothy, what is something we're past time, but it's okay. It's a great conversation. Um, Tell us, what can someone do today to get started, and that will be the send off for our show
To get started with which piece?
with
I feel like we talk
healing
about
with
a lot.
nature.
Oh, yeah. So like you said earlier, just maybe setting a clock for 10 minutes and getting out for a quick walk. And it doesn't have to be literally quick, just getting out for a walk. Set that intention, or in the alternative, step out into your backyard or front yard, hug a tree. Those are two quick ways that you can really just get into being with nature. And also, don't, again, this is the power of the sun. I would just let it hit your face, even if it's for a couple of minutes, just sit there. And like Carolina said, just, thank you. And, thank you for wherever it goes. So, yeah.
Gratitude and breathing
Mm-hmm.
will change your life.
Yep.
So thank you, everybody. This has been absolutely wonderful. Look out for more information about Dorsa's Empowerment Circle, about the books that we're going to be using for it. And, may you have a mindful, intentional day today. So thank you. And until
Thank you.
next time.
Empowering women on a global scale. This has been Powerful Women Today with Carolina Billings. To learn more about how you can join and transform your life and the lives of women everywhere with professional speaking, publishing, podcasting, and web TV, visit powerfulwomentoday.com. Remember to subscribe to this podcast on iTunes, YouTube, or wherever you like to listen and watch your podcasts.